right now, the old system as we know it, it has to break down. And we're not just talking about here in the USA, like we're talking globally. By the end of 2028, humanity as a whole has to make a choice. We have to see everything for what it is. And a lot of people on this planet have not been seeing the truth, and the truth is about to get revealed. I decided to do a remote viewing course. We're talking CIA, ex-military, blind remote viewing techniques. You get blind coordinates, so it's a series of 8 digits, and those numbers are linked to a location. And then you show your drawing at the end, and you're either on target or you're off target. 20 for 20. I've never been off target before. Once you step out of the player, you get to step into the role of the programmer to really understand that you're the one in charge of everything.
Welcome back to the Healing and Human Potential podcast. Today we're exploring some really mind-blowing topics that will stretch your perception of reality. So I want you to keep an open mind and lead with curiosity. In this conversation, we're going to explore predictions for the next 5 years, timeline hopping, alien abductions, and the fascinating world of remote viewing. So we're also going to discuss the future of AI, what it takes for humanity to really collaborate with extraterrestrials, and how we can shift our energy to better navigate anxiety. Joining us is Elizabeth April, who's a clairvoyant, a remote viewer, and author who's had profound experiences with ETs and has really dedicated her life to exploring higher consciousness and spiritual awakening. Let's dive in. I know there's so much happening in the world right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just curious from your perspective, what you think in your predictions, what might be unfolding in the next year to 5 years?
Yeah, great question.
Mm-hmm.
We are in the dismantling phase, you know?
Yeah.
So right now, the old system as we know it, and a lot of people loved it, it has to break down. And we're not just talking about here in the USA, like we're talking globally. This structure, this system, it's been feeding the top 1%. I think we all know that, but I think that we're comfortable with it because we've been programmed to believe that that's the best for us, the best thing for us. So right now we've got mass panic across the world, you know, and that panic, it's the fear of the unknown. It's this chaos frequency that everyone is stepping into because we don't know what's next.
Mm-hmm.
And so I keep reminding people it's got to be better than what we're coming from. So the sort of timeline here is 2025 to 2028 is going to be the breaking down of the system. By the end of 2028, humanity as a whole, both individually and collectively, has to make a choice. And the choice that we have to make is love or fear. Like that's as simple as it comes down to. Love being unity, right? Making choices for the betterment of everyone. Or fear being separation, right? It's the us versus them mentality. It's the survival mentality. It's the fight or flight freeze mentality, you know? So that's the choice that we have to make, but we have to see everything for what it is. And a lot of people on this planet have not been seeing the truth, and the truth is about to get revealed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of the next 4 years that we've got going. And then after that, we are going to start to see, hopefully, right, that choice of love and that choice of unity and connection and togetherness. And with that, we're going to see things like cures to plastic or cures to pollution, solutions to different aspects of, you know, that have been going on. So we're not going to see a lot of those solutions until we get to that point.
And with the future of AI and robots, I just would love to hear your perspective on this, because that's clearly going to play a big role as part of the evolution the next few years.
Big time. So I have a bit of a controversial view on AI, mostly because, you know, my statement is that AI is going to lead us into an awakening.
Yeah.
And not everyone views it that way. A lot of people have a lot of fear around it, and that makes sense, right? I believe everything in this universe has high vibration and low vibration. We live in a polarity universe. And of course, everything's a spectrum as well. So we've got the good side of AI and we've got the bad side of AI, right? My fear is more so the programmers of AI, not AI itself. But that's besides the point. The way that AI is going to lead us into an awakening, all right, is that we're going to get to a point where we no longer know what is real anymore. We're going to see this in the next 2 to 3 years, okay? We're going to be clicking on social media, doomsday scrolling, whatever. We're going to see some celebrities and politicians saying and doing some really wild things, you know? And yeah, we're going to feed into it and it's going to be clickbait. And then, of course, we're going to realize, oh, this must be AI, but my brain can't tell the difference between this and reality. What is real? It's going to lead everyone into questioning what I was questioning, what you and I were questioning when we were teenagers. What is the nature of reality? What is real? And that's going to spin us all back to the conclusion of experience, our five senses. It's the sensory experience of, I can taste this food. I can touch this fabric. I can have a conversation with you in person. And that's real. That experience, that visceral experience is my only truth now, because everything online is going to be constructed. We don't know if it's AI or not, and therefore it no longer holds a value. It's going to hold a lot of value up front because it's going to be the clickbait, because we've never seen that stuff before.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be disenchanted by it. And at that point in time, I believe we're all going to go back to one-on-one, in-person, authentic connection, because that's all we're going to have left. That's going to lead us to the next great phase of our awakening, is questioning the nature of our reality.
I love that. So then really using technology and AI to, it's almost like even with virtual reality, there's an idea in our mind that something like that tomorrow is going to happen. And we have this idea of what that is. And that's one far removed from the truth of the moment. And so we're also going to use that with AI and start really, and I would highly encourage more and more people to start creating more critical thinking of what they're seeing online as if it's real, and using that same framework to question the nature of reality so that it can support a spiritual awakening. I love that. I think that I think we can use that for everything. And if that's the foundation, then we're centered in something deeper than just even the senses. To like the moment I think that I'm sensing something, it's been registered in my mind and it's already gone. So then even like taking it to a step deeper, realizing that even the senses aren't real because it's already in my mind and my mind is in the past.
Yep.
So like it gets really intricate.
Yeah. And science has already proven, right, that our brains can't tell the difference between a dream versus something experienced, or a memory and something in the present, let alone what we're seeing on a screen that looks very real, and our brain is registering that as real. And then we realize that it's an illusion because AI created it. And then it makes us question the nature of all of our experiences.
Yeah.
One
of the most powerful inquiries that I ever did was into the nature of time. And I know you talk about timeline hopping.
Yep.
Can you unpack this for us?
Yes.
I know people are like, time's accelerating. Talk to us about this.
Yeah. So as our vibration on the planet increases, which it is, and things like solar flares are hitting us, we are at a solar maximum right now, which basically means that the sun is really active, and it will be active for the next couple of years. And as we get hit by these solar flares, it increases our electromagnetic frequency. Of course, we're electromagnetic beings, so our vibration is increasing. And with that increasing vibration, time is also speeding up. I believe science just proved that time is speeding up, even just by like a micro, millisecond, but it's happening. And so, when I first had my past life regression and I realized time as we know it in a linear fashion is actually an illusion, it took me a very long time to wrap my brain around that concept. There's a visual that I want to give you that made the most sense to me, but I'm a visual learner.
Me too.
So we have been taught that time works like this, right? Past, present, and then future. But time actually works like this: past, present, and future. And
for people listening, will you explain that?
So instead of time going from A to the left to B to the right to C, it's stacked on top of each other. So what's really cool, and it will mess with your brain and it still messes with mine, is that every single timeline does exist and can exist and is currently existing right now. And what I mean by that is every choice we make creates another branch in reality. Okay. And so for example, this morning, I chose this outfit, but there are 10, 15, an infinite number of different choices that I made to show up wearing different outfits with different accessories. And all of those different choices, all of those different timelines I would be saying this exact thing right here, right now, just wearing something slightly different, right? Everything's the same except for that one choice. That is currently existing right now. Okay. Mm-hmm. So there's also a timeline where I'm vacationing in Hawaii right now. Mm-hmm. Great. So let's hop over to that. Now, the problem with hopping into a different timeline, right, is a lot of it's your focus, a lot of it's your belief, right? When we get unfocused and we observe everything objectively, that's when glitches happen. That's when Mandela effects happen. That's when duplications happen. Okay. Because we're not observing one state of being, we're not creating that state of being. So typically when someone is in like autopilot programming, right? Every day I wake up at 6 a.m., I make my coffee, I put on my suit, I go to work and I do the 9 to 5 and I come home and this is my routine every single day. So every single day is going to look the same, right? Because you're creating that, because you're choosing the same thing. And so when we want to hop from right now to a vacation on the beaches of Hawaii, there's a lot of different variables. There's a lot of different choices and probabilities in between this timeline right here and that one. The more choices that are involved in the hop of the timeline, the less likely it is that we're just going to glitch into that alternate timeline. Okay? So the more likely glitch in the timelines that we would have is I blink, close my eyes, and by closing my eyes, I'm not observing the present moment. Of course, you're observing, right? And we got you, but and all of a sudden I open my eyes and I'm not wearing a watch. And I've just seamlessly hopped into the timeline where I didn't choose a watch today, right? And so this is where we get Mandela effects and glitches and different rememberings of things. And what's really cool is as the vibration increases, more and more people are going to be experiencing these timeline glitches, these Mandela effects, these weird duplications or what have you. People are going to start experiencing simultaneous time, and things like that. So these are conversations that we have to have. I mean, look at all the Marvel movies right now. They're all about opening portals and weird rifts and time continuum,
The Big Bang, wormhole, black
and
holes.
Quantum things. Yeah. So, and I love that because this is a conversation that we need to be having because this is where we're going. So it does still hurt my brain today, but here's what I suggest. And I actually put this in my anxiety book because my anxiety book isn't about, it's not really about anxiety. It's about reprogramming your brain. And I'm a big believer in neuroplasticity. I'm sure you are too. At any age, at any time in your life, you can change the wiring of your brain, right? When we wake up and we make the same choice every single day, we're walking the same path. We're firing the same neural pathways, right? And so we can do that with our eyes closed. What I recommend is you consciously make a different choice. So I used to do this all the time back in the day when I was like, I want to hop timelines. I want to mess up my reality. So I would take something random on my desk and I would just huck it across the room. And then I'd be like, well, in a different timeline, I chose the pink pen instead of the blue pen, right? But by doing something sudden and something random, not only are you creating a brand new neural pathway in your brain, practicing consciously neuroplasticity, but you're telling your nervous system it's okay to make a different choice. This is what anxiety does. It keeps us stuck in the loop of, I am safe doing what I know, and if I make a different choice, I will not be safe. And all of those alarm bells are going to go off telling you you're not safe doing this. So if we do something different, completely random, in a safe way, harmless way, we are telling our brain, we're telling our neural pathways, we're telling our nervous system, we're telling our emotional state, it's okay to make different random choices and I'm going to get through this. And then we can make bigger choices that are more important and more serious, and we can have trust in that.
Yeah, it's like training your brain that you are resilient and that it's okay. And these micro kind of smaller weights that you're lifting before some of the bigger ones. Yeah. So there's so much we'll dive into and kind of weave it together. But I also want to give people just to hear some of your story when you were 18. Can you share with us about being abducted by aliens and what that experience was like? Have you ever felt like there's something more you're meant to do? Like you've outgrown the life that you're living, but you don't know what comes next? Maybe you've checked all the boxes and still something inside whispers, this isn't it. What if that whisper is actually a calling, a sign that you're here to do something meaningful, something that lights you up and serves others in the process? After 2 decades of experience as a psychotherapist and coach running a multiple 7-figure business, I've seen what's possible when people fully step into their purpose. And that's why I've created my ICF accredited coach certification program to help people like you turn their natural gifts into a fulfilling career and life that feels fully aligned. It's for brand new and experienced coaches working in any niche. Inside, you'll learn powerful tools to not just transform your life, but feel confident in deeply and profoundly helping others change theirs. You'll also learn practical strategies to build a purpose-led business and embody your inherent worth so you can show up authentically, feeling supported to really have a natural abundance in your life. You'll also join a supportive, heart-centered community of people who, like you, have decided to stop settling and start living their purpose. And so if you're ready to feel clear, confident, and connected, to finally align with the freedom and fulfillment that you've been seeking, I want to invite you to take the next step. The link is in the show notes to learn more and apply today, or go to alyssanobriga.com/apply. I would be honored to support you on this journey.
When I was born with extrasensory abilities, essentially the ability to see energies and chakras and feel everything like an empath, which brought along a lot of anxiety as well, and ghosts and spirits and all that great stuff. So I was definitely the weird kid, in school for quite a while. Around the age of 10, I made a conscious choice to shut down those abilities, to fit in, to have friends. I took a look at my classroom and I said, who has the most friends? Everyone who's in sports. Let's go ahead and do that. So I went from a very metaphysical existence straight into the physical. And I started to play every single sport you could imagine to fit in, to make friends. And I did. Woohoo. But I was so unhappy, of course, because I lost this part of me, this connection to the truth. And that's what got me questioning, what is the nature of reality? What am I doing? What are we all doing here? There's no way. It's just go to school, get into some debt, go to more school, pop out some kids and die. No, thank you. It's not for me. So I really started questioning. And I went to therapists and counselors. I went to a priest at 16 and I said, okay, great. You're the authority figure. Tell me, what's the purpose of life? No one could tell me. So it was through that sort of deep disturbance inside of me that brought my dad into offering me my first past life regression. And from there, I learned that I've done this in many lifetimes. I've sort of been a conduit of sorts to information through deep states of meditation. And so it was from that place where I learned that I did something called Vipassana, which you and I were talking about before. I've only met a handful of people in my life, and I know a lot of spiritual people who have done Vipassana.
It's a commitment. It's a 10-day commitment.
It is so cool that you've done it too. And both at young ages. That's awesome.
There's a lot of parallels.
Yeah, we do. And that
your dad kind of supported you in having this past life regression
and guided me. And so, at 18, I was away at university, ended up finding a Vipassana center about an hour and a half away. I had to take a bus and did a 10-day sit. But on the second night of this meditation, I was abducted. I was actually abducted at the Vipassana center. What a perfect place to abduct someone. You can't talk. You can't tell anyone. And I was so close to taking one of the mentors or whatever aside and being like, are other people saying that they're getting abducted? Because I feel like this might be a hot spot. Not to mention the retreat center itself was in the middle of the forest. It was in the middle of nowhere. A perfect place to abduct a human. And, after the abduction, I was so close to leaving. That was on the second night, right? And I was like, man, if they come back. So I actually remember taking a butter knife from the kitchen of the Vipassana center and I put it under my pillow, and I didn't want to necessarily hurt them if they came back, but I felt like if I could get some green alien blood or something and go take it to a scientist and be like, okay, I just needed proof, visceral physical proof that it happened.
When you took a butter knife, I took
a butter knife, right? I'm I don't know, just defending myself from extraterrestrials. But what was so cool about that, and it was a very fear-based, very scary, very violating experience, I know I needed to have it like that to better understand the majority of people who do get abducted. And it's very scary and it's very fear-based. And they hate aliens because of it. And I've had experience with good and bad ones. And that was definitely an experience with a bad one. And then since then, it was like, a whole other can of worms. Okay, great. So reincarnation is real. Time is an illusion. And aliens exist. They really do exist. They just hauled me from my bed. So who are they? What are they doing here? And why are they even remotely interested in human beings? Because truly, we are a caveman species in the entire universe. Why would these highly advanced beings utilize their resources to bother with us, And then I started doing a lot of remote viewing and deep states of trance meditation to get my answers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the initial abduction created some fear for you. And it sounds like you've had contact and experiences with them afterwards, and it's kind of expanded your experience with extraterrestrials, would you say?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've interacted with many different species, and there's good and bad, just like good and bad humans,
Is there anything else you want to share about that? I feel like that's like an important...
Ultimately, like I'm in contact with an organization called the Galactic Federation of Light, and they're a coalition of sorts of many different extraterrestrial species. And they're here to help us make that choice of love, come together in unity and raise our vibration. It sounds so woo-woo, but it's actually true that they're here to help us. But I also want to say, don't disempower yourself to the idea or thought of aliens. That's the other thing too. Like, I think a lot of people, just like spirit guides, it's like, just because they're in a different dimension doesn't necessarily mean that they're better or worse than you. Many of us, right, we consider ourselves starseeds, or I call them like galactic volunteers. Like, we've been there. We've done that. We have knowledge and experience from those dimensions, and we're bringing that into this incarnation here. So don't disempower yourself thinking that there's some higher being here to save us all. Ultimately, we are here to save ourselves, and they're here to help us remember that.
That's really empowering.
Yeah.
And, I think, is there anything else like that's grounding that would help people that might feel like this is totally new for them, or they might be uncomfortable with the topic, so that they can use some of this awareness for their everyday life?
Okay, that's a really good question. I think for me, like if I go back to before the abduction, yeah, sure, I thought there's got to be something else out there in the universe, but that doesn't impact me, right? Like that doesn't really, that knowledge that they're out there, it doesn't necessarily help or benefit my everyday life. And I would say for the average everyday person out there, the biggest symptom, okay, of being a galactic volunteer or a starseed is feeling like you just don't fit in. You've been the black sheep. You've never fit in. Everyone's always looked at you as different, especially in your family. But yet you feel like you're here for a reason. Like you've got a mission or a bigger purpose without the ego. But there's just this feeling in you like, yeah, this doesn't feel like home. I don't fit in.
Or I don't understand.
I've always been the black sheep. I try and help as much as I can. No one seems to accept that help, and yet I know I'm here for more. Those individuals do need to accept that extraterrestrials are real, because most likely they're coming from a lifetime where they were one, and as being that extraterrestrial, you decided to incarnate as a human to help humanity in one way or another. You don't have to be a spiritual leader. You don't have to hop on a soapbox to fulfill your mission. You could be a bus driver and just share your light by smiling at every passenger who comes on, just shining that energy out to the world.
That's beautiful.
So that would be the more grounding approach is sometimes it's really nice to get a validation as to why you feel like you don't fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Don't disempower yourself into a new identity that's now an off-planet identity and you think that you're some savior. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Definitely don't do that. Okay.
Good.
Don't develop a spiritual ego.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you. Great.
Or an alien ego, you know. But that validation alone all of a sudden stops this sort of energetic leakage of, why don't I fit in?
Mm-hmm.
But why do I feel like I'm here for something?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I do teach people how to find that within themselves so that they can better align to their true selves,
Mm-hmm.
multiple,
Mm-hmm.
And then step into what they're here to do.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I think that'll soften some people are like, I know I'm meant for more, but I love also just the like smiling and like bringing more light into the world and just like also bringing more peace through your own nervous system.
You don't have to do or say anything to affect people in a positive way.
I know that open disclosure is happening more and more. And I wonder, what do we as humanity need to develop or be more aware of to let that be public or more collaborative?
I feel like disclosure is going to happen at an individual level first and foremost. It kind of has to. It's okay to be like, yeah, I believe in aliens, but it's even better to have an experience that locks you into that belief and that understanding. So don't wait on the government to say, yes, that little tic-tac in the sky, it's got to be something else. No, you know, like they're holding back so much from us. It's a good time to be open-minded and to ask for your own individual disclosure. Sometimes it's coming across the right video on YouTube. Sometimes it's having a very vivid dream. Sometimes it's reading an article about the Arcturians and you're like, whoa, like that's me, you know? So disclosure doesn't have to be actually seeing a UFO in the sky. Most of the time it comes in a variety of different ways.
And I know you did some work with UFOs and Demi Lovato.
Yeah.
What did you guys discover in that?
Oh, it was pretty wild. So we went out to Sedona in the middle of the desert. And we called them in. And I've seen a fair share of UFOs, but that night I've never seen more in my life than that night. I mean, we saw green glowing orbs, red glowing orbs. They were coming up right to like, 10, 15 feet away from us,
Wow.
Flashing at us in the sky. We were asking them for communication. They were communicating with us that way. My whole body was just vibrating. And unfortunately, so we were filming a TV show out there called Unidentified with Demi Lovato. And the show itself only released probably 1% to 2% of the footage that they must have received from that night. So for me personally, it was a great experience. A little disappointed on what they ended up releasing, but of course that's entertainment. That's TV.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day they'll release some more.
Hopefully, right? Yeah.
And I've always been fascinated with remote viewing, and I've always wanted to talk to somebody that knows how to do this, and you clearly know how to do this and do this. Talk to us about what it is first so that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, perfect. So there's so many different styles of remote viewing. I'm self-taught, so you could also call it like astral projection. Okay. So the way that I was able to teach myself was through past life regression techniques. So when you get regressed into a past life, you get to a point where you're so relaxed that you're still consciously aware. You're listening to the sort of guide, the regressionist, and you can go to different places, but you're no longer attached to your body. So I use that as a basis of my technique to be like, well, it just took 60 minutes to regress this person so that they could see a past life. Could I expedite the process by regressing myself and going into their Akashic Records and seeing information from them? And then I got to a point where, do I really even need someone in front of me to go into, say, ancient Greece or ancient Egypt, for example, and get all my questions and curiosities answered? And so then for me, I was really interested in like agendas and conspiracies. So I would go into like underground military bases, just being disembodied out of my body. And then, someone comes home and the door slams and you're like back in your body because it sort of startles you back. So it used to take me, a solid 45, 60 minutes of just like sweating and concentrating to get to that point of equanimity where no sensations exist, where I can leave my body, and now it's like, it takes 2 seconds to close my eyes and be like, okay, where do I want to go? I can go anywhere. And then I hop back and forth depending on the information, especially if I'm remote viewing live, which I do with my audience quite a bit. I have to receive information, come back into my body, relay the information, go back out, receive more information, come back in. And it happens in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
Okay? But it took me years to get there.
Yeah, I bet.
And I do teach it, but unfortunately, a lot of people just don't have the attention span or the bandwidth to get into it, let alone a 10-day Vipassana sit. And so last year, I asked myself if humanity wanted me to prove my abilities, because, when I talk about cloning or celebrities or underground military bases or aliens, I'm like, yes, I'm seeing this, I'm doing this. And it's great that it resonates with people because deep down they know, like that's for them. But if I were to prove what I can do, how do I do that? How do you viscerally prove that to people? I mean, you can't just prove channeling, right? You can't just get the validation. So I decided to do a remote viewing course, essentially. And so essentially what this was is ex-military techniques. We're talking CIA, blind remote viewing techniques. So it's very different than what I've been doing, similar but different. So instead of me just getting out of my body and saying, let's go to Mars, you get blind coordinates. So it's a series of 8 digits, just random numbers, like seriously random numbers, not longitude, latitude, just 8 random numbers. And those numbers are linked to coordinates to a location. So you need to do this with someone because they're giving you the blind coordinates. And then from those random series of numbers, you go to the place and you draw pictures and you describe it and you define it and you smell it and you taste it and you feel it and you're there. And then you show your drawing at the end. And you're either on target or you're off target.
And so you set this up live?
Nope. So I did this with the Farsight Institute, which is one of the kind of leading, they do SRV, which is scientific remote viewing. So this is like, you could put me in a blank room, give me 8 random numbers, and I can go wherever you want me to go. And I can prove that because they have the location and then I receive the location and I draw the location.
And this is what you did.
And this is what I did. And I'm so happy to say that out of, I want to say 15 to 20 different targeted locations over about a year of doing this course or whatever, 20 for 20. I've never been off target before.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went through a 4-hour exam, scientific remote viewing exam, double blind with a different teacher. And I passed my exam. So I'm actually a certified remote viewer. And if I wanted to show up and prove that skill, I could.
I'm just amazed.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew when the military was using this to spy on other countries for war and weapons and things, I was like, okay, that's interesting that they're not talking about that more.
Right.
And yet they're spending so much money and time into this. And so, that's incredible. Yeah. So of the remote viewings, are there any people or situations or experiences that you feel like would be interesting to share or helpful for people to hear about?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I put probably way too much online about what I see and experience. And I'm just starting a series in 2026. Every month I remote view a new important person. So, I mean, quote unquote important. Okay. What's your definition of importance? So for the 12 months, I did Vladimir Putin. I did Michelle Obama and Obama. I did Oprah Winfrey, Kim Jong-un, Justin Bieber, Britney Spears. And it was absolutely fascinating doing that remote viewing and gaining access to definitely information that no one else has, and then looking it up and getting some really interesting pieces of validation as well. So that's being released on my website. But that's just for fun. Like that's like pure entertainment.
Yeah.
Like, do we really gain access to anything from that other than just maybe curiosity around how Justin Bieber got his fame and how he got to where he is now? I would say that the majority of the information that is impactful to the individual is coming from the Galactic Federation. And that's mostly about how we all at this time need to take radical responsibility for our choices, for our thoughts, and for how we show up and for what we believe. Because it is through our belief system and it is through our focus where we are both individually and collectively creating this reality. So that's it. I mean, I end pretty much every interview off with, you have the power.
You can do this.
You can do this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a 6th generational psychic. I'm not special or different. I'm just one step ahead. You can do everything I can do. And I always tell people, you know, one day I want to be out of a job. One day I want everyone to be able to tap in and gain access to the information for themselves.
Yes. I think that's so beautiful. I say the same thing about therapy and coaching. Yeah, because if we can scale that means everyone has access to it. It's free. I would be happy to be out of a job. There are many other things that we can do. And yet then the mission has been served.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I remember I did a journey one time and I had a direct knowing of, oh, I can just tap into the field and tune into anyone I want to at any moment.
Yes.
And I, at that time, didn't know about remote viewing, but I'm like, oh, there's no separation.
Yes.
So this is, and it's similar to like telepathy tapes and these children who are very attuned, you know, they're less socially attuned. They're more attuned to something else. And oftentimes, so it just makes perfect sense. Yeah. It also feels very narcissistic to think that we're the only living existent, you know, in all of it, like humanity or in all of the universe, you know? Yeah. It just doesn't make sense.
So then you actually bring up a really cool point, right? So we've got like the collective consciousness grid. We're all connected to this grid, right, on planet Earth. And not only are our present moment experiences connected to the grid, but all of our past lives are also connected to the grid, right? And so sometimes when I'm remote viewing information about humanity, I'll just go to the grid and I'll take a look at what's happening collectively, which is really fascinating. And so then a couple of years ago, probably like 2019, 2020, I started getting into what I term as quantum uploading and quantum downloading. So I started thinking about this collective grid, right? Now, there's actually been scientific studies on this, which is really cool. So the one that comes to mind, I don't know what it was called.
When you're saying collective grid, would you say that's similar to the Akashic Record or no?
Yeah, I would say like the Akashic Record is kind of like a sort of a library for our individual soul's experience. Yeah. The collective consciousness grid is like all of our experiences, both presently and indefinitely, all connected together.
Okay, got it.
And so years ago, they did this study where they were observing these monkeys on an island. And all of a sudden, the monkeys learned something new. Like it was like how to utilize a tool, like a stick to lick it and get more food, something like that. They like progressed in a certain way, but used a tool to get there. Never has this been observed before. These are monkeys on an island, right? Halfway around the globe, at the exact same time, a different group of monkeys started utilizing the same tool at the same time to gain access to more food. So what does that tell us? Tells us that we're all connected in some way without being physically connected, right? So I started really exploring this concept. And then I asked myself, well, I mean, if someone else out there has learned the lesson of financial abundance and they're just living it, specifically happiness and financial abundance, a lot of people who have a lot of money are just miserable, right? I wonder if I can just tap into that. Can I just download someone else's lesson that they learned for us? And this is where past life regression, we're getting an upgrade here. You don't actually have to walk through space and time to clear your karma anymore. You just simply download and upload. Upload whatever you don't want and download whatever you do want. Okay? It's true. It happens. So the one night I put this practice in a very simple way, but a very serious way. My dog in 2020 actually ate a bunch of chocolate, just got into the cupboard and ate a ton of chocolate. Okay. I was living in Joshua Tree at the time because I got out of LA at that time. And the nearest vet, like the nearest emergency vet, was like a 2-hour drive away. And it's like 8 p.m. And I'm like, oh my God, do we need to drive right now? Like, what's going to happen? So I'm laying there in bed. I'm so worried about my dog. I'm trying to give her water, just trying to think of different things. And I thought, okay, well, quantum uploading, right? Is it possible that I upload this chocolate poisoning to the grid and I disperse it and allow humans to take on the chocolate, right? Is that possible? That's what I did. I started pulling this chocolate, the energy of the chocolate, okay, from my dog and moving it up into the collective consciousness grid. She did not get sick. She did not have diarrhea. She was snoring all night, happy as can be, just full of freaking dark chocolate, okay?
So you're the reason why I like dark chocolate.
My dog is. Yeah. So likewise, a couple nights later, right? I'm tossing, I'm turning. Of course, I'm thinking about all these quantum ideas. And, my partner at the time was sleeping beside me. And, she's passed out and she's deep in sleep. And I'm just laying there wide awake. And I'm thinking, can I pull some of her sleepiness? Just like taking a melatonin. Could I do that? Could I just transfer that energy over while I start doing that? And as I'm pulling this sleepiness from her, she starts getting restless. She starts moving around and I get hit with this wall of exhaustion. I'm like, that feels much better. So then I start thinking about her mom and all the mom issues and, oh God, it's just, I had this conversation today. I'm like, I didn't have a conversation with her mom today. I'm like, oh shit.
You downloaded some other things.
I got a little bit more than the sleepiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now what do I do? At nighttime, if I'm really, really wired, right? Mm-hmm. What I'll do is I'll pull in sleepiness from my neighborhood, just like a little bit of each, right? But I'll put this energetic filter above me and I'll literally filter all of the BS and I'll kind of like a little drip feed, and I'll just drip in drops of like pure exhaustion into me while filtering out.
I love how practical you use the spiritual hacks.
That is quantum uploading and downloading. Obviously, it has much wider reach.
Totally. We could do lots with that. But even just hearing that as a concept, as an option, opens my mind to want to play with and explore and find out for myself.
Do it.
Yeah, that's fun. And I know earlier before we got started, you were like, oh, there's this thing I want to share. You probably have heard it. I would love to hear what that is.
Yeah. Okay. So same concept. So concept that came to me many years ago. And it's all about ego and identity and attachment and aversion and all the great things that we experience as a human. But our biggest blocker, I believe, is identity, right? This attachment. You are a mother. You are a coach. You are a female. You are a good driver. You're a bad driver. Whatever it is, you create your entire reality around the belief and the attachment of the identity that you were either programmed to believe, that you were given at a young age, or that you created yourself mostly through survival and bypassing and things like that.
Yeah.
So I was playing with this concept of identity and I came up with the character, the player, and the programmer. Okay. And these are essentially 3 stages that we experience when we are eradicating identity out of our lives. Okay. So the first stage is you're the character. You are the mom. You are the spiritual coach. You are the bad driver or the good driver or whatever the identity is. You are existing as that and multiple, right? And based on that, your whole reality is created around that, and then limitation and expectation. And now you're just drowning in your reality of these identities. You're the character and you know yourself as that. All of a sudden you start questioning, wait a second. Is all I am a mom? Or am I something else? Am I something more? Am I something different? Am I even happy being a mom or a wife or a good, good schoolgirl, whatever? I don't know. Whatever the thing is, right? So you questioned your identity and you move from the role of the character into the role of the player. So let's talk about that role, right? Essentially, instead of being on the TV screen, in the TV show Friends as one of those characters, you're now sitting on the couch observing the TV show Friends, Or you've got the controller in your hand and you're not in the video game. You're playing the character in the video game.
Mm-hmm.
So now you get to flip between being in the moment as the character, as the mom, and then observing yourself being the character as the mom.
Mm-hmm.
And you're the player. You're consciously playing the character. So that's cool, right? And like most spiritual teachings is like, yes, that is the epitome. You want to get there. You want to observe the character. Great.
Yeah.
Love it, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Good.
There's another one.
Yeah.
There's another layer,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the next layer after that is the programmer, right? Cool. You're playing the video game. You're going through the layers. You're at the point where you're fighting the final boss. Okay. But what if I were to tell you that you can actually step out of the role as the player itself, as the observer of the character? You can step into the role as the programmer, as the one that's creating the rules, the regulations, the limitations, or no limitations of the video game.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one creating the levels. You're the one creating the final boss, or not. Once you step out of the player, you get to step into the role of the programmer to really understand that you're the one in charge of everything. And this really comes back to quantum mechanics, right? We've got the double slit experiment. We've got Schrodinger's cat. We've got spooky action at a distance, entangled particles. All of this just leads to us and the one conclusion, which is as we observe the reality around us, it changes.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that I can't see behind me, okay, technically within quantum mechanics is in a wave state,
Mm-hmm.
which means all particles are existing simultaneously, which means every single possibility, every single timeline, every single infinite idea you can come up with is existing behind me because I am not observing it.
Mm.
It's in a wave. The second I turn around to observe it, it becomes a wall or whatever my experience expects it to be,
Mm-hmm.
whatever my belief is in it, right? So think about it this way. It's like the reality around us is rendering as we observe it. Just like walking through that open world video game concept and you're seeing the buildings pop up, and it's rendering because it's saving space. And that comes down to the concept of simulation. Are we in a simulation? I mean, truly, is this just a fever dream for the soul? And I'd like to say, yeah, it is to a certain extent, but so is a dream. A dream is just a fever dream for the soul. A dream is just an experience. It's a rendering of this reality so we can observe and learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my concept of player, character, programmer.
I love it. And what do you hope or imagine people would shift into knowing that, feeling more empowered around that? Like, how do they apply that in a practical way?
I think it's a really big concept. And it was hard for me to wrap my own head around it. And this is really tough because I've been yelled at a lot for this concept that we create everything in our life.
Yeah.
Someone told me once, they said, I was at a conference and I was a panelist and I was explaining this, right? We create our own reality. Someone got up with a mic, right? And they were taking questions. EA, like, that's messed up, So you're telling me that you would walk over to a homeless man and you would tell him to his face that he created that?
Mm-hmm.
That it wasn't the system, that it wasn't his mental illness,
Mm-hmm.
that it wasn't, his parents, it wasn't, drugs, right? And I said, yeah, absolutely I would.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went through a huge health crisis when I was 18, 19 years old. I went through autoimmune disease, right? Lupus. And the one day I stepped into the realization, like, I created this. Sure, I have like the genes, but like at a certain point in time, like my vibration dropped so low that like those genes expressed themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the second that I realized that I created an autoimmune disease in my body was the second I realized that I could uncreate it and recreate whatever I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in remission. It took me 6 months. I've been in remission ever since. The most empowering thing for me to hear and realize at that time, at my lowest time in my life, was that I created that moment. And yeah, it's hard to hear.
Yeah.
Because it requires radical responsibility around your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, it's not your mom. It's not your in-laws. Mm-hmm. It's not the government. It's not the drugs. Mm-hmm. It's not the pharmaceuticals. It's you. Mm-hmm. It's you. It's always been you. And if you don't like the life that you're living, you can change it.
I really love the frame of like using everything for my healing and my evolution. So wherever you are in your life, you can use it to grow, to evolve. And if anything, this life is here to help us awaken to who and what we already are. And sometimes some of us need the school of suffering to come to a deeper truth.
Oh, yeah.
And there's an intelligence in that. And I'm just a fan of using it all. Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. And I understand because there's so many different perspectives around it and we don't want bad things to happen. And we've all gone through a certain time where we've looked back and was like, even though that was really challenging and I wouldn't want to go through it again, like I'm so grateful for who I am now because of it. So just the invitation to always try things on and see what's true for yourself. And also just know that you can use everything for your healing.
Yep.
I really appreciate how you're just like, this is my experience. You can take it or leave it.
Yes.
I think that that's healthy. And I think it's empowering. And I think it's, especially with some of the things that you're sharing about, but I also love that you haven't been as influenced so that you have your own direct experience.
Right.
Because I think people usually lean to the other side of just hearing, being influenced without actually checking in what's true for them. Yep. And I think part of what my experience of you is like, having cultivated that your whole life, there's a real sense of knowing inside of you. Yeah. And so I just encourage people to come back to themselves, test things out and find out what their truth is.
Yeah. I got denied a lot from speaking on stage because of that. Oh, well, who have you studied under? Oh, well, what have you read? Oh, well, no, nothing. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, we'll pass, you know? So that was such a downfall at the beginning. And I'm like, man, like, if only I had a teacher or a mentor, or if I could say like, yes, I'm the student of this guy, you know? Yeah. No, I had none of that. And now that I'm self-taught completely, it's such a benefit, you know, in that way. And now we got ChatGPT and we've got AI and we've got, you know, an infinite number of other spiritual teachers and leaders are coming out of the woodworks with zero discernment. And it freaks me out because I'm like, great, but like, have you done the work?
Yeah, that's right.
Have you discerned? Like, it's so cool that spiritual awakening is a thing, right? And that people are waking up all over the world.
I know when we were younger, nobody was really talking about that. And we were the weird kids. And now it's more popular.
We had to do the work ourselves to be like, well, does this resonate? Yes. Then why does it resonate? And what if this is just an illusion? Or what if this is just a manipulation in my mind? Or how do I know? You know, you have to go through that. And when you all of a sudden go from, I'm a lawyer, to I had a spiritual awakening and now I talk to aliens and now I tell the world that I talk to aliens. It's like, have you done the work to discern who are you talking to? Do they have the best interest in intention? It's like, if you just go online and you get that attention, you may not have the morality behind you. And so I had sort of my step into the big spiritual awakening, sort of 2010, 2011, when I was 18. And then it wasn't until 2016 where I started my YouTube channel. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm never going to tell people I talk to aliens. Like, that is way too crazy. Like, I just could not do that, right? And it wasn't until 2020 that I actually told people that I talked to extraterrestrials, right? So this is very recent, but it took me 6 years of piecing things together, of breaking things apart, of digging into discernment, of digging into my own mind, of diving into the darkness, diving into the light, understanding, experiencing polarity firsthand, to understand unity and 0 point and neutrality, to get to this place. Okay, that took a long time. And to just wake up and say, I'm talking to something else and everyone needs to know about it. Yeah. It's a little concerning for me. You know, just observing that.
Totally. Yeah. And I do think the word discernment is so helpful, and just that critical thinking for everybody, especially like we were talking in the beginning with AI and things appearing to be real as we're accelerating here coming up. And I know that anxiety is a big part of your work, and you've got this new book that just came out. Can you talk to us about what people usually misunderstand about anxiety?
Oh, man. Okay. So I'm an anxiety sufferer myself. Like, that's what brought about the book. I don't really teach about anxiety until this book. And it was because I was trying to solve my anxiety for myself.
And that makes sense. You're very open. And so like your whole system is trying to process and navigate that. Yeah.
And so I felt that from like a psychology perspective, it was like, well, just like pop the pill or like talk about it and like it'll be better, you know? Or like from a spiritual perspective, it was like, just breathe through it and like ground yourself into the present and like it'll be better. And it's like, Okay, great. So that helps me as I'm feeling anxiety, but it doesn't get rid of the anxiety, right? So what I felt was the biggest gap, Eastern meets Western, was that everyone was focused on the symptoms of anxiety and no one was talking about the source of anxiety. First of all, what is it? Secondly, where the heck is it coming from? And so from my past life regression sort of background, I know that in order to heal a trauma, we have to go to the initial source, whether that's childhood or further back, right? And usually things in childhood are actually just repeated patterns from further back. So you usually don't have to go into past lives to heal a trauma. You just go to childhood, right? Great. So let's go to the source of anxiety and heal it at its source so that it doesn't come back. It's sustainable anxiety healing. So I always tell people, this is not a quick fix guide. No, I'm not going to tell you to breathe through anxiety. Yeah, breathing is in there. Cool. Great. But that's not the point. The point is to show up and to listen to anxiety as a messenger.
Yes.
Not as an enemy, not as something to be feared, right? I go back into sort of the ancestral roots of anxiety too, hunter-gatherer days, right? Like we're in the forest, we're hunting that deer. All of a sudden the hair starts standing up on the back of our neck, our heart starts beating, our palms start sweating. We don't know why our body is reacting this way. Turns out we're not just hunting, we're being hunted, right? Anxiety is actually an evolutionary skill. Before our cognitive mind can click into it, our body is trying to tell us something. The problem is, nowadays, we're not about to get eaten.
Yeah.
And yet, all of our alarm bells are telling us, you're about to die. You are about to die. And you're like, I don't know why I'm about to die, but I feel like I'm about to die. And like, I can't go to this party.
Yeah, it went from physical survival to psychological survival. It transferred.
Yes. So now we're looping, right? And the book is such a deep dive. Like I said, reprogramming. It is a very different approach. It's never really been talked about. But I look at anxiety as a spiritual messenger. And we've got to get to a point where we are listening to that initial ping of the message to be like, okay, great. What are you about to tell me? Oh, my boss is about to call me into their office. Okay, bad thing or good thing? I don't know. It doesn't matter, right? Neutralize the response to anxiety as not something to fear, just something to observe. And as we can tune into that skill of observing anxiety at its initial ping, we can learn from it.
That's right.
We can utilize it as intuition, right? And so most anxious people are actually deeply connected energetically.
Yeah.
And just like the title of the book, Your Anxiety is Giving Me Anxiety, anxiety is contagious.
Yeah.
Yay. So on top of paying the bills, going to work, taking care of your kids, get a bath time and dinner time and all the things, right? You go to the grocery store, you pick up a pint of ice cream, you get the cashier to check you out, and all of a sudden you're walking home with anxiety because the cashier full of anxiety. And now you're feeling what he's feeling, but you don't know where you picked it up from. So the energetic interactions are now just as important and prominent as all of our 5 sense reactions and interactions, right? So this book explores all of that. And then I also pinpoint the cause of anxiety coming from, it was so odd. And I've never had more anxiety in my life than writing this book because my God.
I think when you start to speak on a topic, anything that's undone and needs to be combed through definitely comes up so that you can really speak to it.
I'm like, I get why people can't figure this out because it's such a subtle but also intrinsic mechanism. And so I ended up pinpointing, of course it's in my book, but I ended up pinpointing the root cause of anxiety coming from past, the present, and the future. So I actually utilize time as the cause of anxiety. So for example, past anxiety would be a past trauma. You're a trauma survivor. You never actually healed that trauma. That trauma is now in your system, as you know, right? And if you don't heal it, it comes through as chronic anxiety. It's this feeling like something is wrong. You don't know what's wrong. Your mind can't process. You can't pinpoint it, but you felt that way since that trauma happened in childhood or what have you. Very subtle form of chronic anxiety, but it's there. It's a generalized feeling that something's not quite right and I don't know what it is. It's restlessness. But then you just move on because it's not as loud, right? And that's just like a very brief understanding of past anxiety, right? But understanding the cause of anxiety from the past. Present anxiety is overstimulation, right? I mean, that's just one, right? Present anxiety is either I've got too much stuff in my house and I'm overstimulated and I'm overwhelmed, or energetically, I watched the news, I doom scrolled on Instagram for 2 hours, my boss yelled at me for another hour, and now I'm just so overstimulated that I'm feeling a panic attack coming on, right? That's present moment anxiety. But also present moment anxiety is, feeling other people's energies and sensing those sort of interactions. So of course, things like destimulating yourself, clearing the photos on your phone, or clearing the files on your desktop are very simple things to do, or clearing out your closet or that drawer that, has been nagging you, right? And then I do like energetic sort of techniques on how to cord cut and clear energy with the interactions between you and others. And then future anxiety, you're up at 3 a.m. and you're all the what ifs. Oh, what if no one comes to my party tomorrow? What if I don't have all the food for the ingredients for the meal that I want to make? What if I get hit by a car? Oh my God, and that's future anxiety. You're anxious about the future. And what do we do in that case? So I was able to pinpoint the root cause of anxiety coming from the past, the present, and the future. And then in that case, how do we navigate that? Right. And I think most anxious people have the cause coming from all three of those places, which is so much fun. But I help people sort of navigate the root cause of anxiety and then solve it for good so it doesn't come back again.
Yeah. And I love what you said of not thinking of it as something bad, but to really befriend it, to listen to it, because there's wisdom inside of it.
Oh, yeah.
And we want to extract that messenger, but maybe upgrade the approach.
Yes.
I don't need to stay locked in my mind about the fear-based future, but I can say, it's trying to make sure I'm safe.
Yes.
And can I feel that safety here?
Yes.
And so really shifting our relationship with it, I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I know your book just came out, and so we'll put the links here in the show notes. But as we end, is there anything, there may or may not be, I'm just curious, is there anything that we didn't talk about today that you're feeling like would really serve people to know in closing?
We talked about a lot.
We did. We went multidimensional.
We went simultaneous. So I want to just reference actually my first book.
Yeah.
Okay. It's called You're Not Dying, You're Just Waking Up. And it is overviewing all of the stages of a spiritual awakening. We're going from blissful ignorance and autopilot programming to questioning everything, to trying all the modalities, to the agendas and the conspiracies, to like, oh my God, I'm a starseed, right? Like I go through all of it. If someone is interested and they're like, you know what? I think I might be a starseed. Like I might be one of these galactic volunteers. You've got to read this book in particular, because at the end of the book, I go into why are humans here on planet Earth? What is our mission? And what species you may be connected to based on your physical appearance and your personality. So I deep dive into all of it. I also go into the most common missions that starseeds will have. So it's like you overview that and you're like, ooh, I'm a pillar, or ooh, I'm a rebel, or ooh, I'm a healer, or a grid worker, or whatever, right? So that's like a really good guide if people are interested in that half of the podcast. And then of course the anxiety. I think for me, the reason why this anxiety book came out was people can't elevate their consciousness because they're stuck in their own mind. So how do I get them unstuck? Right. And there are some really powerful people who are stuck. And that's what spawned this anxiety book. But other than that, it's always leaving off on the note that we are the only creators of our reality. This is your ultimate time to choose. If there is anything in your life that you have been avoiding, that you have been distracting yourself from, or that you have not been choosing because you don't want the consequences of that choice, the rug will be pulled from underneath you. So I recommend take a look in the mirror, take a long, hard look in the mirror, make the hard choice, okay? Take the more difficult path, because that's going to lead you to more expansion, more abundance, and truly more authentic happiness than you've ever had in your life. And if you don't choose that right now, it will be chosen for you, okay? That authenticity, that true self, that's going to come out whether you like it or not. And so I'm encouraging people to choose the path less traveled, because that is the one where you truly find yourself. And that is the direction that we're all headed, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm. And it's so nice to have tools along the way to help guide our process. And so we'll put the links to both books here in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on, just sharing your story, your experiences. Definitely opened my mind to things that I want to play with and continue to explore in my own direct experience. So thank you for who you are. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for doing this work that changes the world, starting with yourself. It truly does make a difference. And if this podcast has supported you, one of the most impactful ways to help us reach more people is to simply press the follow button. It really does help us grow, and we are so grateful. You can also leave a review on Apple or Spotify and take a quick screenshot and upload it at alyssanobriga.com/podcast. And as a thank you gift, we'll send you one of the most impactful tools for transforming your fear into freedom so that you can step more fully into your potential. There is so much more magic ahead, and I cannot wait to share it with you. But for now, I just want to say thank you for being a living example of what it means to walk through the world with an open heart and mind. I am so grateful that you're here, and I cannot wait to see you in the next episode.